everyone, hello and welcome to HRL RX round number 7. After this round of 2 motos, we're going to have 2 more in the regular season after this, and then the grand finals. So we're really getting down to the end of the season here. Yeah, literally only 2 more weeks of the regular season, grand final after that. So not much time left. Anybody want to go for anything in the points, go for any last second wins and stuff like that? Time is now. And take a quick look. So obviously showed this track in the preview video way back when. As you can see, it's received some updates. Calgary, still the shortest track in the schedule. Quickest lap time on here. And still with this tunnel joker. Check this out. Jump off to the side in here, and you go underneath the track. Little tunnel action. Pretty sweet down here. You got to watch your head. Don't want to go in too hot. Up the jump, and then you emerge out here on the inside. Kind of see it from the oval turn there. This inside, then you go towards the rollover and rejoin it. Over here, you have a bit of an alternate line. So this is just a straight alt line. It's not like a joke or anything. You can run that right side. You can run the rollover. I'd say the rollover's generally faster, but the right line is a bit safer. And sometimes it might just be better to take it if the rollover's conky or like congested. And if you have a bad run where you like shoot it a little bit, then the right side can be better. So that was the balance that we were hoping for. On this one, I was hoping to be pretty similar to the Mirabilis alt line, but a little bit different since on there the rollover was like the less preferred one. Now it's the opposite here. But yeah, a little more alt line experimentation here. Had this on like a few of these tracks and doing it here and doing it on next week's as well. So that's what's going on over there. Yeah, that where the Joker entrance is, like crazy chicane right there. Now it's a bit of an oval turn with like a weird turn exit. That part's pretty tricky as well. And then you got this last like snaking section, which doesn't look that dangerous, doesn't look that crazy, but you can actually make up some time here. And if you get like out of line, these rocks are pretty dangerous. So you can hit those rocks. So that section's actually a little bit more difficult than you'd think. And then you have a little jump into this last hairpin here, which can kind of like set up moves and mistakes that way too. Yeah, so that's all we got on Calgary. A little bit different now than what you saw before. Going through the lineup, it's going to be Luke, Sol, and Slaunch left to right. So Luke and Sol taking the heat wins there. Opix, Vulcan, the Dino form right now. And switch up the colors a little bit. Roman, and then Camby in the back row. Only 7 for tonight. Everybody decided to take the same night off for some reason. I don't know. Just kind of how it worked out. We're still going to do 2 motos in Senate. Roman's going to do the Nade honors on this one. We're going to do 25 laps. Most laps any race in the season. 51 on the checkpoint. Nade is out, and we're green. Sol with a good start down the middle, and it's going to be tight. Couple drivers, 3 drivers going for their Joker. We'll check on that in a moment. Close lead battle here. Sludge going wide. Bringing it back onto the rumbles. Again, 4 drivers keeping on track. Let's see how they go in this exit. This part of the track, very important, very tricky. And well, I think Luke goes for the outside, and I can't tell who the right person is. Might be Roman. Go for that alt line there. Sol and Slaunch battling for the lead early on. Who's going to lead the first lap down? And it looks like Slaunch will lead the first lap down. Sol and Luke now close for second, but it's still like a 3-way battle for the lead. Low contact. And I want to see who took the Jokers, but I don't want to stop watching this yet either with how close the lead battle is and with how these races go. I mean, this could be the most important part of the race. Oh, Sol sticking it around the outside. Him and Slaunch both going really wide. Slaunch starts lagging. Luke brings it up to the inside, and Roman brings it up to the inside. I thought it was Roman, making sure. Verifying there it is Roman. So he's in the fight now. 4-way battle for the lead. Nice crossover right there out of Roman. Inside move. Luke's going to take the lead. Sol second, Slaunch third. Roman's still in 4th, but fighting for that position there. And still a fight from Sol. And Slaunch veers off into the Joker. And these guys might have taken 2. These guys might have all taken 2. That's kind of what it looks like. Opix, Camby, Vulcan. Opix, Camby, Vulcan. There we go. I think, yeah, they might have taken both. They kind of look like they took both. We'll see. I mean, were Slaunches coming out here with this much of a gap? I'm going to say, yeah, I feel like they probably all just took both. So, interesting. All of that group in a very early Joker strategy. Slaunch just taking 1 here, being the first taker of these front runners. So, we'll see how that works out for him. So, it's Luke and Sol, and now Roman in the podium position now. And Roman going to go for it. Let's go on board with him, have some fun here, take a look at this, see what this looks like. So Roman going in for his first Joker here. A little bit of wall contact. Got to be careful for that. And yeah, it's going to be... funnily enough, the camera doesn't look this bad in-game, but in theater it's worse. Just inside of the roof right there. You see Roman definitely going to come out in fourth, which makes sense. I mean, that's where he was, and plus he had a little bit of contact. I don't know how good Slaunch's Joker run was, but we saw Romans have a little bit of contact, so doesn't really surprise me there. Opix still leading the secondary pack. But again, I think they might be on both Jokers down, so we'll see how that works out when these guys take their second, because I think that's the case. Hard to tell. I'm honestly not really sure what the Joker gap is. What happened to Camby? Camby just lost a ton right there. I'm not really sure like what the Joker gap is. That's why it's kind of hard for me to tell. So Luke and Soul here, I don't think either of them have taken a Joker. Luke stretched out the gap a little bit here to, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 hog lengths or so. So a bit of a lead gap there, but still time left in the race. Lots of time left in the race. As you can see, we're only 5 laps deep into this one. Again, 25-lap race. Most laps that we're running on any track. I thought Roman might have went for it there, but he doesn't. On any track during the season. That's something that makes Calgary a unique standout track. Interesting. Soul in second. Starting to run that alt line. Wants to work down that gap. Figures a way to do it. Try to run a different line. See if that helps out in any way. So he's going to do it. And honestly, that run didn't look that bad. Let's see how that works out for him. Some moves. Maybe a potential move tried to happen in the back there. Looks like somebody sent it. Trying to make a move happen, like a Goomba happened, but it didn't really work. We'll take a look at that in a moment here. Let's see if one of these guys go for another Joker. They're not. It's Vulcan. Vulcan's in front of Opix now. Camby still bringing up the rear. Camby must have wrecked out on that one lap. Something must have happened, because Camby was close behind them, and now Camby's like way behind them, so he must have hit the wall or something. I'm guessing, if I had to guess, I would say he probably like hit one of these rocks. This part, nobody's really cheesed it too hard yet, so it may not look like it, but that part's kind of deceptively cheesy. There's a nice line there. Oh, is this Soul going in? All right, let's see Soul's Joker lap. Soul taking his first Joker, nice and steady right there. Doesn't make any contact with his head. Doesn't want to give himself any type of concussion there. It's good. Good practice. And who's he coming out close with here? Slaunch. Slaunch have the gap? Wow. Okay, Slaunch really worked it down there, I guess, because I'm pretty sure it was Soul second, Slaunch third, by a decent running. But now Slaunch up there in second, and again, I think they both have a Joker to take still, if I'm not mistaken.
Lap complete.
Yeah, Slaunch might have that second place now. During those laps where he went in for his Joker early and Soul stayed out, like those laps must have been really good for Slaunch, because it seems like he gained a lot, because pretty sure he was behind Soul at that point. Maybe not by too much, maybe a hog or two, but now he's got like 4 or 5 in front of him, so interesting. They're going back to the rollover line. Roman going to the alt line. I see a lot of drivers are doing it in the heat too. A lot of people were like switching back and forth, which I found interesting.
Lap complete.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where like mostly it's going to be the rollover, but when you're in a pack, the alt line would have some use. The unfortunate thing, obviously, with everybody taking this night off, is that this track was very much designed for like a pack race. Like I feel like this track would have raced really well with like 10 or 12 people. It would have been pretty cracked. Luke takes his first Joker right there. But yeah, obviously, unfortunately with 7, it's not going to be able to showcase that as much, which sucks, because again, I feel like this track, similar to Quebec, would have ran pretty sweet in a pack.
Lap complete.
I think the alt line would have showcased a little more use right there. If you have like 3 wides going into the rollover, there's a little more use of running the alt line. Probably get a lot of use out of it there. Yeah, if we ever race this one again, though, probably does need to be cheesed a little bit. The alt line definitely probably lost a little bit more than I thought it would. On this one, admittedly, not completely out, but definitely a little more than I thought it was going to. Not as bad as other split lines throughout the season, but I guess, I've said it before, and the other track's not going to hit on all of them. Next week has a pretty good one. We'll try to tune that one up as best we can. Because I think next week's split line is pretty sweet, and the tests that we did on it, I think drivers seem to like it too. But yeah, that next week's track, that split line's a winner. That one's probably my favorite on the season, personally. So definitely want to hype that one up a little bit. Make sure you guys tune in to see that, because that track in general too is a It is a very cracked track, and if we have the people that weren't here this week coming back next week, I think that race could be one of the craziest ones of the season because it throws everything at the drivers. I think it arguably could be the hardest track on the schedule. Is what I'm thinking about next race. I'd have to see what the drivers that previewed it would think of that, but personally, I think it might be. It's at least like top 2. That one's very difficult. There's a lot of sections that are really challenging. Like almost all of the sections are challenging in some way. There's no like free turn on that track. And yeah, it should really put the drivers through a lot. And like I was saying, if we have the normal lobby on there, it's gonna be interesting to see how that one goes because I think it could get very conky. There it is, Soul. Go back on board with him. Soul going in for his second Joker. So Slaunch still has to take another one, but Soul taking his second. We'll see where he works out here. Roman may have taken his second in the mix right there. He may have. Not quite sure. We might have missed it. Here he comes. Is it going to be close? No, Soul's going to be nice and clear. Does overjump it a little bit, but there you go. That's the gap that he lost. So it's Vulcan and Roman, and Vulcan's gotten by Roman. So I would assume that Roman took his second Joker by now then, and that he's running in that 5th place spot. That's what I would assume here. So Vulcan going for that early Joker strategy that he tends to go for and trying to make up the spots on that, and so far having a pretty decent run of it, but I don't think he's going to have that podium in sights quite yet. He's going to have to work for it. There we go. That was actually Luke going in for a second Joker. So Luke done with Jokers. The only driver on track, as far as I'm aware now, that still has Jokers left to take is the driver that has just moved into the lead, Slaunch, and there's the gap from first to second. So, yeah, Slaunch still has another Joker to take, and like I said, I'm pretty sure he's the only one that has to. So we'll see where he works out on that. I think Luke should probably have him cleared based on that gap, but there's where Soul and the rest of the pack is, and you got to think Slaunch was ahead of Soul, before Soul went in for his second, so you'd think Slaunch would be pretty clear of that as long as he hasn't had, a rough last couple of laps or hasn't made too many big mistakes. Like with already having that gap, you would think that he would come out pretty safely with that. So we'll see how it works out. But I'm imagining that's probably what'll happen. It's getting kind of close though. That pack is starting to come together in the midfield, which is what I like to see. I hope that continues. We continue to see that there. Yeah, this part of the track kind of underrated. This oval turn exit is pretty tricky. Really easy to mess that up, and really hard to maximize your speed there. And obviously it leads into the rollover as well. So just a very important part of the track there. The rollover is very important. It's a very tricky rollover. A lot of drivers talking about that. Like it may not look that crazy, but trust if you ran the track, it's a very tricky rollover. It's a very... Oh, there goes Slaunch. Let's see how this works out. He did make a little bit of contact and messed up the entry a little bit, so maybe this will be closer than we think. But yeah, it's a tricky rollover. It has a weird breaking point. Like if you don't find the right breaking point, it likes to launch you over it a little bit, and that makes for it to be very difficult. So, oh, here we go. Slaunch will have Soul cleared, but not by that much. Soul is still right there. So right now, the way this race is seeming to play out and seeming to cook out for the rest of this, is Luke's got a decent gap. You know, as long as he doesn't cheese too hard, should have the first place locked up. But second and third between Slaunch and Soul still very close. Vulcan and Roman still very close for fourth and fifth, and then Opix and Camby are kind of in their spots. But let's take a look at this. Roman and Vulcan starting to get pretty hot here, and we're running out of time too. Not that much left in the race. Again, we're at 37 on the checkpoints. We're going to 51. So let's see what he can do here. And again, we're trying to watch that up there. Soul and Slaunch are getting pretty close too. And interestingly enough, Roman is starting to elect to take this alt line, and he's been doing it. And he's keeping it close with Vulcan. So we'll see how this works out. And now Slaunch and Soul and Slaunch are the ones that are close. And Soul actually gets in the rock right there. That's unfortunate. I was surprised at how well he even, like, I thought Slaunch would have had the clearage on him before they even got to that mid turn, but Soul did a good job of holding on to it. But yeah, unfortunate. But on the bright side for Soul, he's still got another like 5 laps. And if he can keep working down that gap, if he can keep up the pace that he had right there, then he can get back up with Slaunch and he can still fight for the second place. So we'll see if Soul can put on another charge there. Go back on board with Roman, see where he's at, still around that same gap with Vulcan. But these are definitely the battles, the on-track battles that we're looking at this point in the race. So we're going to keep watching these because this is where the points are. This is where the shifts may happen. And these are all, like, actual points battles, too. Like, Soul and Slaunch. Slaunch should have a little bit of a gap there, to be fair. Slaunch with 2 wins in the season and overall having a pretty good season. It looks like it's going to get close between them again, so we're going to go back on board. That one wasn't too bad, but yeah, Soul starting to get pretty close. I mean, just in a lap or two, cut down the gap. So I don't know what's going on if Slaunch has had a rough couple laps or if Soul's, like, really dialing it in, but yeah, Soul has really turned up the heat late in this race, and he's been making gains and, like, catching this gap on Slaunch very quickly. So we'll see what he can make happen. Went for a little inside right there. That didn't work out too well for him. He's going to lose a lot of time right there. Maybe thought he had a bit more of an opportunity to go for Slaunch's inside right there. He didn't, so he's going to lose a little bit. So we're going to go back to Roman and Vulcan. It looks like they're getting very close, and Roman got by him. Hold on. We need to see what happened here. Okay. I was really hoping it didn't conk me. So let's see what happened here. So Roman made up the gap, got right to Vulcan's bumper, and I was calling out this as a potential spot to make the pass. He just sends it in deep on the inside right there on the jump, and as you can see, he gets the line. Oh, and Roman just hard commits and just even sends it into the rocks. He just fully commits right there and makes the pass. That was a pretty gritty pass right there out of Roman. Full commitment on that, knowing that the rock contact could happen, knowing that could cheese him, and decides to go for it anyways, and makes it work. So more power to him on that. So Roman pulling that off. We'll see if Vulcan can fight back. Keep an eye on Soul and Slaunch too, because they keep getting close. But yeah, I like that Roman showcased that because we haven't really seen that yet. That's definitely a passing zone on this track. There's a few spots where you can make moves. I think that one's a pretty easy one. Like, if you get the run on somebody there, you can definitely make a run. It's easier to make a pass with that jump into the last turn. So that was another addition, which, again, seems like a very small addition to the track, but I think it actually makes a pretty big difference. I mean, that turn wasn't really going to be... Oh, it's getting close. That turn wasn't really going to be a passing zone before, and now it is. Now that this little jump completely opens up the doors for passing in that final turn. 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go around Calgary. Our second stop consecutively around Canada, and Vulcan makes absolutely brutal rock contact on the exit right there, and that'll be it. Unless Roman makes a big mistake. Oh my god. That'll be it for that battle. So now we go to the other battle. One more battle left at this point in the race, and let's see if Soul can make anything happen. Luke goes to the white flag. One more lap around. Let's take another Moto win here. But we're watching the second place battle to see if Soul can make anything happen on Slaunch. I have a feeling that he'll go for it here on the rollover, so we're going to watch that. If he doesn't get it there, then it's probably over. But I have a feeling he'll go for it there because he kind of has to at this point. I don't see how else he's going to make this move happen. Here it is. Slaunch protecting the inside. And Soul didn't send it as much as I thought he would, but he did give it a good send. See Luke cross the line there on the left. It's a good attempt, but just ran out of time. Soul trying so hard to get that spot. Maybe one more attempt, and... Oh! I kind of want to watch that again. I want to see this here. So Soul must have absolutely tried to line it up in this last part. Oh, yeah. Makes rock contact. Nice save on the 2-wheel, though. That was actually pretty slick. Nice save on the 2-wheel. Imagine he flipped and dismounted right there. Like, he actually could have lost the podium. So, good heads-up driving out of Soul to probably back it down and get on the drift a little bit there to keep it on 4 wheels. Because if he didn't, I think he could have lost his podium there for sure. Yeah, great battle for 4th and 5th and for 2nd and 3rd. That was pretty fun to watch throughout Moto 1. Now we're going to go into a cheese fest of a Moto 2 as we usually do. Going through the finishing order one more time. Luke, Slaunch, Soul, your podium finishers. And then Roman, Opix, Vulcan. Wow, Opix got Vulcan too? We get a replay on that? What the hell happened here? All right, so sorry about that. Got hit with the classic theater cheese. So let's take a look at a couple things that happened in the last lap here. So here's the instance with Soul. And as you can see, he was just digging. He was just looking for whatever like deepest inside he could do to try to last second get this unslaunch, and that just probably wasn't going to happen. Hits the rock, and then I'll give him credit. Nice save on this, because he had to be. There's no way he had. It kind of looks like it. He had to be on the drift. Like there's no, or at least like letting off. And whatever he's doing, he rides that 2-wheel out and brings it back on 4. And that was clutch, because if he dismounts right there, Roman is right there, which is a big gap, but with a dismount, right there. Like Soul with a dismount genuinely might have had a better chance of crossing the line on foot quicker than Roman could get to him if he dismounted right there. That might have been a better chance. So that would have been brutal if he didn't save it. So that was a really important move. So this is what happened here. So Vulcan had this 5th place locked up, and then he does what Soul does. And it's just like not necessary, but he does like exactly what Soul does. And he gets too far inside, hits the rock, but he gets a way worse reaction. Way worse reaction. And does he get the dismount? Oh, and he's on the gas too early, too, so he gets a bit of a pop-up. I wonder if he waited a second to get on the gas. I think Opix might have still had it, but it would have been closer, maybe. But yeah, that's the thing with the hogs. It's tricky. They're so, like, long, and it's not something that these guys are used to, like, with the gooses, because with the gooses, like, this just isn't really a thing. Except for maybe on reach a little bit, but not really. But the hogs are just, like, so long, and if you're on those rear tires and you're like gassing it, it's just gonna pop that wheelie and it's gonna slow you down. So you like have to wait in those situations. And I think that slowed him down a bit. That being said, even if he waited right there, I think Opix probably would have still had it, but it would have been closer. So hard to say. You never know, I guess. But yeah, so that was the case there. I mean, the better thing would have just been to take it safe. Like that would have prevented it entirely. But yeah, so Vulcan just a little too far on the inside in the last lap, cost him the spot. Unfortunate there. On the bright side for him, he's having a pretty decent season, so I mean that'll probably just be a mulligan even in a 6th place for him, I would imagine. He's actually having a pretty solid season, but we'll see. All right, hope you guys enjoyed Moto 1. You can see we're already lining up Moto 2 here, but hope you guys enjoyed Moto 1. We're going to send it over to Moto 2.